Today we're going to talk about designing, and we're going to do things a little bit differently today because, as you know, this is the first time you're seeing my face. So today we're going to go over the 10 steps that I use every time I sit down to design, and I'm pretty sure yours is going to be the same. The first step to designing is to get inspired, of course, and you can do this in a number of ways. I find my inspiration everywhere, and I feel like that's what a lot of designers say, and I know that you need a little bit more information than that, so I'm going to show you what I do to get inspiration. Sometimes I'll go on Instagram and search a hashtag like fall decor, like the one I'm showing you here, and it will show a bunch of different items that are related to fall decor. And if you like one, you can just save it, add it to a collection. And I have a few different collections I'm trying to show you, but it's not correcting itself. Now, what inspires me about these photos is that they show a different variety of decor items that aren't crochet related. So whenever you see these items, you can look at them and think, that would be super cute if it was crocheted. So that's the general idea behind this method of inspiration. Other ways to find inspiration can be through magazines. My favorite magazine to go through is Vogue. Vogue is a new magazine that I've been using, but it does a really great job of finding inspiration for different kinds of garment patterns. You don't have to only use Vogue, of course. You can use any magazines like parenting magazines, home and garden magazines, anything with decor items, kids' toys, things like that will help you find different kinds of inspiration. You can also find inspiration by watching TV, like the Zootopia bag that I had, as well as the branch costume that I made for my son one year. Another thing you can use is Pinterest. I wouldn't look up specifically crocheted items because you don't want to take anyone else's ideas. Whether it's intentional or not, you never know. You could always have that design idea in the back of your mind without realizing it. After you become inspired by something, you need to write it down. Open up an app like Evernote or Trello, or even in your notes section of your phone. Or you can even have a notebook that is specifically for your design ideas. Make sure you write down your pattern your idea as soon as you think about it. Don't say, "Oh, I'll remember later," because you won't. We never do. And then you'll get frustrated later because you know it was a great idea, but now you can't remember what it was. Step 3 is to choose your hook and your yarn. Now this can kind of go hand in hand with step 4 because you will need to experiment with the weight of your yarn, the yarns that you're combining, the fibers, the size of your hook. Really, it's just all one big experimentation. So choose the hook and yarn that you think would go best with the pattern that's in your mind, and then from there, change it if you don't like the way that it's turning out. Step 4 is to sketch out your idea. Now this part is optional, but this is what I do every time I have a new pattern idea. That way I can see the shapes that I want to create, just like this monster here. You can see that he has a rounded top, and so I know to start my design by crocheting in the round, increasing, and then crocheting a bunch of plain rounds to get that straight body. Another reason why I like to sketch out my designs is to put that idea that I have in my head on paper so I know whether or not it's going to work out, what kinds of drape I would like, if certain colors would go together, and other things like that that you can physically see. This is the sketch that I had before I even started crocheting my witch bag. I knew that I wanted the top of the hat to kind of stick out so that you could really tell it was a hat. And so this sketch became this physical item. And I actually think this is the closest my sketch has looked to my end result. And this is why I really love sketching out my ideas first, because then I know exactly what to create. Step 5 of designing is to experiment, because we know that all crochet designing is experimentation. Things that you can experiment with is different weights of yarn. You can hold different yarns together to try different colors, or you can even hold a weight 4 and a thread yarn like this one here. And I used a 9mm hook to create more of a drapey fabric. Like I said, designing is all experimentation. It's about what you want to create. Break the rules and do what you think would look the best. Step 6 is to frog your work, because that's how designing always goes. You will be frogging constantly, so get used to it. Step 7 is to experiment some more. Learn from that mistake and try something different. Use a different kind of yarn. Try a different technique. Use a different color. Because guess what? Giving up is not an option. Another thing you can do when experimenting is to go through your handy dandy stitch dictionaries. I have about 100 of these, and they are my life. I also have a few different magazines that I like to go through that have different stitches and techniques inside them. So I'll go through these stitch dictionaries and find a stitch that would look great for my pattern idea. Then, after I've chosen a stitch that I think would look great, I pick up the hook and yarn that I chose at the beginning and I start making swatches. You might get lucky the first time, but in every instance that I've had, I've always created at least 2 to 4 swatches just to make sure that the stitch that I choose in the end really works for the design that I'm going for. Now, these 2 books in front of me are my favorite stitch dictionaries. As you can see, I have tons of different sticky notes all over to help me remember which stitches are my favorite. So I highly, highly recommend getting yourself one of these dictionaries. Yes, you might have to frog again and again and again, and then you might lose all hope and start doubting yourself. But don't do that, because this is what designing is all about. It's all about testing your creativity and learning to bring out a part of you that you didn't even know was there. Designing is not supposed to be easy. It's meant to test you. But if you're determined to create your own designs, you can do it. Just don't give up. And that brings us to step 10. Brush it off and create that masterpiece. So these 10 steps are the 10 steps to my personal design process. Now yours may vary a little bit, but I'm willing to bet that it's almost exactly the same. So my challenge to you is to go create your first design and then show me, because I cannot wait to see what you come up with. And if you have any questions at all, just leave me a comment below and I will get right back to you. So let's get designing. You might, what?